Do you believe in miracles? Have you ever heard of people who, against all odds, survived situations where science had already lost hope? Imagine facing a devastating diagnosis, hearing from doctors that there is nothing more they can do. But then, something extraordinary happens. An intervention that defies human logic. Today, you will hear the incredible story of a man who, after being given no hope by medicine, experienced such a surprising recovery that even doctors were left speechless. And the most amazing part? All of this was attributed to the powerful intercession of Saint Padre Pio. If you are facing impossible challenges or know someone who needs a miracle, this video might be the answer you've been waiting for. Stay with me until the end, because this story could change your life. To fully grasp the depth of this miracle, we need to know the man behind it, Saint Padre Pio. Born in 1887 in the small village of Pietrelcina, Italy, Padre Pio was much more than a simple Capuchin friar. From a young age, his life was marked by intense spiritual experiences, heavenly visions, and an unshakable devotion to prayer. It was during his adult life, however, that he became known worldwide. Padre Pio received the stigmata, wounds on his hands, feet, and side that reflected the wounds of Christ on the cross. These marks remained visible for more than 50 years, baffling doctors and scientists who could never explain them. He was also known for supernatural gifts such as bilocation, being in two places at the same time, and the gift of healing. Reports of miraculous cures began to spread, drawing crowds to the small monastery where he lived. People came from all over the world seeking words of hope, advice, or a blessing. What truly made Padre Pio special, however, was his humility and unwavering faith. He dedicated his life to alleviating people's suffering and guiding them spiritually. And it was this deep faith that led many to believe he had a direct connection with the divine, a connection that we will witness in action through the incredible story of this miracle. Our story begins with a man named Antonio, a devoted family man known for his faith and kindness. However, his life took a drastic turn when he began experiencing intense pain and worrying symptoms. After several consultations and tests, doctors delivered the worst possible news, a terminal diagnosis. The cancer had spread rapidly, and medicine offered no further options. Devastated, Antonio and his family faced the inevitable. The doctors, though compassionate, made it clear that he had only a few months to live. The news shook everyone, but amidst the despair, something emerged, his wife's unwavering faith. She refused to accept the diagnosis as the end and began seeking spiritual help. That's when a close friend suggested devotion to Saint Padre Pio. Familiar with stories of miracles attributed to the saint, the family clung to hope. They began praying fervently, lighting candles, holding novenas, and asking for divine intercession. But what they didn't know was that they were about to witness something extraordinary. As Antonio struggled to stay strong through the pain, an unexpected event occurred, something that would defy all medical logic and open the doors to the unexplainable. Faced with the devastating prognosis, Antonio and his family turned completely to prayer. Every night, kneeling around his bed, they fervently asked for Saint Padre Pio's intercession. Tears were many, but along with them grew an unshakable faith, the certainty that God could act even when everything seemed lost. Antonio's wife, Maria, became the family's spiritual rock. She organized prayer chains, sought support from the community, and never stopped repeating words of hope. Padre Pio, pray for us. Even as Antonio's condition worsened, Maria continued to believe in the impossible. The atmosphere at home changed. Despite the sadness, there was an inexplicable sense of peace. Friends who visited said they felt something different, as if an invisible force was present. Antonio, as weak as he was, said he felt a serenity he couldn't explain. Then, one night, something happened. Antonio woke up suddenly and described having a vivid dream. He saw a man dressed in a brown habit, with hands marked by wounds, reaching out to him and saying, "Rise and do not be afraid. God is with you." The family was moved but also puzzled. Was it just a dream, or a clear sign that Padre Pio had heard their prayers? The next morning, Antonio woke up feeling different. For the first time in weeks, he felt his strength returning. Still surprised by the experience, he described every detail to his wife. In the dream, Padre Pio appeared with a serene and penetrating gaze, extending his hands marked by the stigmata while repeating, "Trust. Healing is on the way." Maria was overwhelmed with emotion. For her, this was no ordinary dream. It was a clear sign that their prayers had been answered. She immediately shared the story with friends and family, asking them to continue praying with even greater intensity. But Antonio remained torn between faith and doubt. Was it just the result of his exhausted mind, or something supernatural? However, what happened in the following hours began to dispel any skepticism. He noticed that the intense pain had drastically subsided. He was able to sit up in bed without assistance and even felt hungry, something that hadn't happened in days. The doctors were called, and although cautious, they were stunned by the sudden improvement. News of the dream quickly spread, and more people began praying for Antonio. With each passing moment, his recovery seemed more and more unbelievable. It was as if something divine had truly taken action, and this was just the first proof of the miracle. What happened in the following days was described by the doctors as something beyond any scientific explanation. Antonio, once frail and unable to move without assistance, began regaining strength at an astonishing rate. Within days, he was able to walk around the house, something that experts said was simply impossible for someone in his condition. Tests were repeated to investigate the sudden improvement, revealing something even more astonishing. The tumors, which had previously spread aggressively, were shrinking. In some organs, they had completely disappeared. Doctors and nurses were left in awe. There had been no medical intervention to justify such a recovery. For Antonio and his family, the explanation was clear. Saint Padre Pio had interceded on his behalf. Their faith, sustained by constant prayer and the prophetic dream, had been rewarded with a true miracle. Still, the doctors insisted on continuing to monitor the case. They wanted concrete answers to what they were witnessing, but each new test only deepened the mystery. Antonio was healing, and there was no scientific explanation. Meanwhile, the story began spreading through the town, attracting attention from the community and even religious leaders. Everyone wanted to know what had happened there. Antonio's recovery quickly became the talk of the town. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers began visiting his home to see, with their own eyes, the man who had defied death. Many were moved as they listened to him recount the dream about Saint Padre Pio and the inexplicable peace he had felt since that moment. Doctors continued conducting tests and analyzing the case. Detailed reports showed that the tumors had vanished without a trace, and there was no scientific explanation to account for what had occurred. Specialists even discussed the case at medical conferences, but the only possible conclusion was that something beyond human understanding had taken place. The local priest, upon hearing the story, encouraged the family to formally report the case to the church. After a long process of investigation and collecting testimonies, the story was submitted to the Vatican for analysis, a necessary step for it to be officially recognized as a miracle. Meanwhile, more people began visiting Antonio, asking for prayers and blessings. Deeply moved by what he had experienced, he began encouraging others to pray and trust in the intercession of Saint Padre Pio. The testimonies grew, as did the faith of the community. For many, that miracle was not only proof of divine power but also a call to renew their own faith and believe in heavenly intervention. Antonio's miracle was more than just a demonstration of divine power. It became a symbol of hope for all who heard his story. For the faithful, this event reaffirmed that God still works in mysterious ways and that Saint Padre Pio continues to intercede for those who turn to him with true faith. Antonio's experience transformed his life. He devoted himself to helping others strengthen their faith and believe in miracles, even in the darkest moments. His home became a place of refuge, where people sought spiritual comfort and testimonies of perseverance. This case also sparked deeper questions about the role of faith in healing. Many doctors began to reflect on the influence of spiritual beliefs in the recovery process. While science could not explain what had happened, no one could deny the positive impact of prayer and hope on Antonio and his family. For the Christian community, this miracle was seen as an invitation to trust in God and practice constant prayer. It showed that even in times of despair, faith can open paths where only darkness seemed to exist. This story reminds us that miracles are not just physical healings. They are, above all, signs that God is present, hearing our prayers and guiding our steps. Antonio's story reignited the faith of many people who began to see Saint Padre Pio as a powerful intercessor for their own impossible causes. Among the most widespread practices was the prayer Padre Pio taught, known for its power in moments of despair and urgent need. This prayer, also called the effective novena, was composed to invoke divine protection and ask for special graces through the saint's intercession. Many believers report experiencing immediate responses and surprising changes in their lives after praying with faith and devotion. Here is the prayer that has transformed so many lives. O Saint Padre Pio, faithful servant of God, intercede for us before the Almighty Lord. With your hands wounded by love, touch the wounds of our souls and heal the ailments of our bodies. We implore your help in the trials we face. Strengthen our faith, increase our hope, and guide us on the path of light and peace. Amen. Thousands of devotees around the world claim to have received blessings and healings after reciting this prayer, accompanied by novenas and acts of gratitude. If you are facing a difficult situation or know someone in need of divine help, this is the moment to put your faith into action. Believe in the power of prayer and allow Saint Padre Pio to intercede for you just as he did for Antonio. Antonio's miracle is not just an inspiring story. It is an invitation for all of us to strengthen our faith and seek divine help in times of hardship. But how can we begin this spiritual journey and open the path to the extraordinary in our lives? First, it is essential to cultivate a life of prayer. Just as Antonio and his family did, entrust your worries to God and ask for Saint Padre Pio's intercession with sincerity. Praying daily, especially with devotion and unshakable faith, creates a spiritual bond that strengthens both heart and soul. Second, practice gratitude and trust. Even when results seem distant, continue believing that God is working, even in ways unseen. Remember, God's timing is not our timing. Another crucial step is frequent confession and communion. Saint Padre Pio always encouraged the faithful to keep their hearts pure and close to God. He often said that the Eucharist was a powerful source of healing and renewal. Finally, share your faith with others. Testimonies of miracles, like Antonio's, not only inspire but also encourage others to trust in the power of prayer. If you need a miracle, kneel down, lift your voice to heaven, and allow Saint Padre Pio to intercede for you. Your grace may be closer than you think. Antonio's story is living proof that faith can move mountains and that, even in the darkest moments, God never abandons us. Through the powerful intercession of Saint Padre Pio, a man who had been given no hope by doctors was restored to life, defying all odds and leaving both doctors and skeptics without explanation. But this story isn't just about Antonio. It's about you. It's about everyone facing impossible challenges and needing a sign of hope. If you believe you need a miracle, know that God continues to act through saints like Padre Pio. Now I want to hear from you. Write your prayer request in the comments below. Together, we'll create a chain of faith and intercession so that more miracles can happen. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to leave a like, share this video with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring content about faith, miracles, and spirituality.